I used to do a lot of work at casinos, giving away cars and so forth. And I remember one time vividly, like it was yesterday, a gentleman that had to be no older than in his low 60s, sitting in a Rascal, and he was playing a slot machine. He turned to me and said, "Don't ever lose your legs." And that was 10 years ago, and that stuck with me. And that brings us to Dr. B, Dr. Brent Wallis from People's Health. Not that he's at a slot machine, but that he's going to talk about staying fit. It's more important at all stages of life, but prioritizing regular exercise is easier said than done. Dr. B is going to tell us from People's Health the benefits of regular exercise and give us tips for sticking to an exercise plan. Good morning, Dr. B. How are you?
Hey, Tommy, I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm okay. You heard that story. That really did stick with me. Don't ever lose your legs, and there really are a lot of health benefits to exercise.
Yeah, absolutely. I've heard a lot of people say the same things. People that are in wheelchairs or use walkers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's important to always stay active.
So, how do you do it? What are the health benefits of exercise?
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, staying active is really one of the most important things you can do really for your overall health. And there's been tons of research done on this. You know, exercise really touches every part of your life. It can increase your energy levels. You know, the impact and the strain that you put on your body is good strain. It strengthens your bones and your muscles. And then it can really help to control things like your cholesterol and help lower your blood pressure. And that's going to reduce your risk of things like diabetes and stroke and heart disease and really slow the progression of a lot of these chronic illnesses that a lot of people develop as they age. And, you know, the great thing about exercise is that absolutely everybody can do it. It doesn't matter how old you are or what your health history is or what your abilities are. There's always some sort of exercise or activity that you can get a lot of benefits from if you just stay active.
One of which is improving your brain health, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, physical activity has immediate effects on your brain health, and it's really important. You know, after a workout, a lot of people will tell you that they feel energized, and usually that's because there are chemicals that are released in your brain when you exercise called endorphins. And endorphins, really, they improve your mood, they boost your self-confidence, really give you a lot more energy. And so that's why some people will work out in the morning. They'll do some exercise in the morning to kind of boost their day. But in the long term, regular physical activity can actually reduce incidence of depression and anxiety. And then it really can help you sleep better at night. More restful sleep is definitely associated with exercise, and that actually is going to help your mental health as well.
It's so much better to be physically tired than that mental, neurological, whatever you phrase it, strain of you're just mentally tired. You don't sleep well, but when you're physically tired, I sleep very well. What are some fitness goals for beginners?
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to jump in, you know, head first. You get the most benefits from doing about 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise every week. So, you know, that's really kind of the goal for beginners, and you may not start right at that 150 minutes, but you can work your way up there. And the best way to do that is to split it up among the days, about 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week. You can take 2 days off for rest. You know, in the long term, you want to try to aim a little bit higher if you can. All the research shows that more exercise is even better for you. So if you can get closer to 30 minutes each, or 300 minutes each week, so an hour for 5 days, that's going to be even better for your overall health.
How do you define moderate intensity?
Yeah, so when we talk about exercise, we kind of classify it into two areas: moderate intensity and then vigorous intensity. And so really moderate intensity exercise raises your heart rate, which is very good. It's exercising your heart, and it usually makes you break a sweat. You know, it can be something like swimming or walking around the neighborhood, maybe biking, but not uphill, just on level ground. When you move to vigorous exercise, those are much more strenuous. That's things like jogging, jumping rope, kickboxing is another one. So if you're really not sure how intense your activity is, there's something called the talk test, which is really kind of neat. So if you're doing moderate exercise, and you should be able to talk but not sing a song. when you're doing vigorous exercise, you won't really be able to talk at all. You can usually say a few words, but then you have to pause for a breath. So that's a good way to know how intense your exercise level is.
How would one go about creating an exercise plan?
Well, the most important thing is always talk to your doctor first, especially if you have chronic medical problems. There may be certain things that your doctor is going to want you to do or not do. So we're going to actually help you create a safe and personalized exercise plan, and it's going to be based on your age, your previous activity level, whatever health issues you may have, and then really your capabilities, your comfort with working out. The things I always tell people is start small. Like I said, don't jump in head first because you may hurt yourself. So you work your way up to that 30-minute workout 5 times a week. You can start slow. 10 minutes a day is a great way to start, and then gradually increase as you go. And then, really set achievable goals for yourself. The goals are going to keep you motivated, but they have to be realistic. And so don't push yourself too far too fast, because if you fail, you're likely to stop exercising altogether.
Another thing, Doc, I've noticed people try to get their friends to exercise, or even trainers that don't know what they're doing, and they try to work the person so hard the first day. What they do is they get them so tired and so sore, they condition them to never exercise again. That's a mistake I see a lot of people make. It's critical, and don't do it. Ease into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's negative reinforcement. If you hurt yourself on your first try out, then you're probably not going to do it anymore. So gradually ease into it.
And speaking of motivation, what about some tips for sticking to an exercise plan?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the hardest parts. You hear about this all the time. People have a resolution, they're going to exercise, they start up, and then they fail. And so a couple of things to think about is make exercising fun. Do it with a friend, somebody you like. That may help you motivate each other to actually stick to those goals that you're trying to set. And then mix it up a little bit, too. If you're used to exercising indoors in a gym or something, go outside and actually, try some new activities, biking around your neighborhood, doing yoga in the park. You really want to find activities that you enjoy. Don't do something you don't like, because you're really not going to stick with it. There's all kinds of exercises that you can do. So really add variety to your workouts. If you get the monotony going where you're doing the same thing 5 days a week over and over, you're going to become very bored with it, and you're going to stop. And so, look for interesting things to do. Fitness classes can be pretty good because they'll vary the different activities that you're doing, but really kind of make it both a challenge but a fun challenge to yourself, because everything you do to increase your activity level is a step in the right direction.
All right, let me take a break. We come back, we'll talk about exercising safely, because that is important as well. We're talking with Dr. B about Move More Month in April. Don't ever lose your legs. You got to stay active. Somebody texted in and said it's Sir Isaac Newton's #1 law of physics. And an object in motion tends to remain in motion, and once you get to moving, it becomes habit, and conversely, when you're sedentary, that becomes habit too. 821 traffic, WWL. 826, Tommy Tucker, WWL, joined by Dr. B, Dr. Brent Wallis, Chief Medical Officer of People's Health, and we're talking about Move More Month. Get yourself moving, get yourself to exercising, and I think, Doc, it really is all habit. Once you get to moving, you'll stay moving, and if you start sitting around watching TV, then you'll get in the habit of doing that as well. What are some tips for exercising safely?
Yeah, there's a lot of things you can do to make sure you stay safe while you're exercising. Exercise burns energy, and so you've got to make sure you fuel up before you do a whole lot of exercise, and you want to do that with nutritious foods, something that's good for you. So, some good pre-workout snacks are things like, fruits, vegetable sticks. Fruit smoothies are really great. Trail mix is another good one because the nuts have a whole lot of good oils and nutrition in them. Rice cakes is another one. And those are some things you can use after you exercise as well, because you'll be a little hungry after exercise. And then really, really important, especially here in Louisiana as it gets hot, is drinking enough water. You've got to stay hydrated, because dehydration is going to cause muscle cramping. That's going to prevent you from exercising. And so really water is the best way to replace any fluids you lose. But if you sweat a whole lot, if you're exercising for an hour or more, you may want to try a sports drink, but talk to your doctor about that because they do have a lot of salt in them. So certain medical conditions you don't want to do sports drinks for. And then the other thing I always tell people is make sure you don't just jump into it. You want to warm up. So if you're going to be doing exercise, you want to make sure you're stretching, doing kind of low-intensity movements to work your muscles out a little bit before you jump into the exercise. And then likewise, when you're done, don't just stop abruptly because your muscles will seize up and cramp. You want to kind of cool down a little bit and try to stretch a little bit more so that you feel good about what you just did.
I would think you'd want to pair exercise with some other lifestyle changes.
Yeah, absolutely. Exercise alone doesn't do it. And so like I was talking, healthy diet is incredibly important to be paired with exercise to get the maximum benefit. And then like we mentioned before, sleep is critically important. Getting at least 7 hours of sleep a night is really important to make sure you have that energy so you can exercise the next day. And then, we say it almost every time we talk, quit smoking. You've got to quit smoking. I see people riding bikes around town smoking a cigarette. You're really just completely negating the benefits of the bike riding. And, and then likewise, limit your alcohol consumption. And then try to manage your stress levels as well, which exercise will help with.
Before we wrap it up, Doc, any tips for working exercise into a busy schedule? Everybody's got a lot of stuff to do.
Yeah, a lot of people use that as an excuse, but you can work it into your everyday routine. Add reminders on your phone. Make sure you're doing it maybe the same time every day so you remember. But a couple of things you can do even when you're sitting around the house. Get up. If you're watching TV, watching the news, do squats while you're doing it. A great way if you're out shopping is don't park right next to the door. I see people hovering around those front spaces. Park in the back so that you can walk a little bit further. It's a little bit of exercise, but every bit helps. And if you are in an office-type environment or if you're working at home, standing desks are really great. And then making sure when you get a break, walk around the house. Don't just stay in your seat. It's really important to just stay active.
Good information. Thank you, Dr. B. Have a good weekend, all right?
Thanks, Tommy. You too.
If you want to find out more about People's Health, you can go to peopleshealth.com. You can always visit the People's Health Medicare Center that you hear Newell talk about, 3017 Veterans in Metairie next to Party City. Appointments are recommended, but walk-ins are certainly welcome. You can call 1-800-978-9765. And, of course, you can always follow People's Health on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. 8:30 when we come back, we'll talk about a state senator who wants to make schools safer with the School Safety Act of 2023.